Good evening. This is David Henry. I'm the Communications Manager for the City of Amarillo. I want to welcome everyone to our Council Connect for June 2020. A brief explanation of what Council Connect is for those who don't know. We do this the first Tuesday of every month. What it is, it's a less informal environment than Amarillo City Council. We have two City Council members here who take questions from the community, from the city, things like that. That way they can respond in a more informal fashion than your regular Amarillo City Council meetings on Tuesdays. We're joined tonight by Council Member Howard Smith and Mayor Pro Tem Freda Powell. We welcome both of you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having us, Dave.
Let me go ahead. We do have a question here submitted by a resident. We'll start off with this one. It's by Kat Rosas. I will read it verbatim. On June 1st, 2020, the Texas League of United Latin American Citizens issued a statement condemning racism for profit as a bad business practice. What plans does the Amarillo City Council have to amend the ordinance that allows for businesses such as Big Beaners, unquote, and its owner, Jesse Quackenbush, to profit from such practices? I'll leave that for both of you.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. First of all, I'd like to say that the name of the business definitely is not in good taste. And we know that we have other restaurants throughout our city that may have controversial names also. But I want to say that basically, owners do have the right to name their restaurant or their business according to their preference. So I don't know that, I know as a city, we do have an ordinance that is basically a sign ordinance that says, where you can place a sign, how big it can be, etc. But I don't know if we have an ordinance that gives us the legal authority, to say what someone can do or cannot do. And I'll let Councilmember Smith kind of weigh in, and then we can ask our city attorney to give some thoughts as well.
I'm not aware that we have any ordinance, and we don't have plans to make an ordinance to restrict names. That would be a dangerous thing to get into, because things should be subject to interpretation on what a name means. So I think people can name their business whatever they choose to do. Some people don't like the name, they don't need to go to that restaurant. So we don't have plans that I know of, and I don't think we should have plans to create such an ordinance.
Thank you, Howard. Brian, we're now jump to Brian McWilliams, City Attorney.
Yes, Councilwoman Powell has said it very succinctly and correctly. Commercial speech is protected by the First Amendment, and governments are very restricted in anything that they could do that would somehow limit expression. And governments don't weigh in this, censor business names for that reason. And so it's simply a very it's a situation where the government just can't weigh in on it. So
Thank you, Brian. Our next question, I want to leave it up to both of you. I just want to get your thoughts on recent protests in Amarillo related to the death of an African-American man in Minneapolis, Minnesota, who's in police custody at the time. I just want to get both of your thoughts on the protests that we had here in the past couple of days here in Amarillo related to that.
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
If you're okay, I'll go ahead. I watched a lot of TV over the weekend and saw protests in other towns, and it looked pretty horrible. But the protest here in Amarillo was very civil. Police were there to really help people protest. And so, and the people were very orderly, so there wasn't any looting or anything like I saw in other towns. So I thought it was a compliment to our town, the way it was handled.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, I too was very pleased with the protest in Amarillo. Appreciate citizens of all diverse backgrounds coming together to express their feelings for the way things were handled in the light of Mr. George Floyd, his passing, you know, and also in the manner of his death. But the community came out and they rallied together. They were really looking for swift justice to be done and just for citizens to be treated in a respectful manner. And so I'm very proud of a lot of the citizens that attended in the African American community. There was even one gentleman, I believe that was Julian Reese, he actually stepped in to try to diffuse the situation. So I thought that was very commendable on his part and appreciate him doing that because it was to be a peaceful protest. And, you know, that's all people wanted to do was just show their respect for the family, show their support.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Let me go on. We were, last week, we were fortunate enough to have the governor of Texas here for a news conference here in Amarillo related to COVID-19. I just want to get the thoughts from both of you on that news conference and what the governor had to say last Wednesday. Whoever wants to go first.
Freda, go ahead.
Well, okay, thank you. I certainly appreciate Governor Abbott really taking time from his schedule to come to Amarillo to meet with Mayor Nelson and the council and some of our representatives that were here. The purpose of his visit was for the COVID outbreak that we have experienced in our community. We've had several hot spots, and those hot spots have been related to, first of all, the meat packing plants, specifically Tyson, then also the nursing homes, and then our prison system. So that's been the three areas where we've seen the most positive tests that have increased lately. But I appreciate Governor Abbott being here. Our numbers have been decreasing, but we know as we do more testing, our numbers will increase again. So we're just trying to hold our own. But Governor Abbott wants to come to show the impact of the surge teams that we requested as mayor and council. We requested them to come to Amarillo, bring some resources to help us so that we could control the outbreak.
Councilmember Smith?
We have been considered in the past 2-3 weeks, probably one of the worst hotspots in the nation, mainly because of meatpacking plants. And these numbers are not exact, but I believe Tyson had 4,300 employees and 1,500 of them were tested positive. And so that ran our numbers up. But I appreciate the governor coming and helping with resources, and we've gotten sort of control of it, and the numbers of cases have come down slightly, and so they're helping, and they're willing to help more if need be. Hospitals needed more materials or ventilators, they could help us out. And so we've had a problem. We've got a problem all over the state and all over the nation. And but I know the governor is trying to open things up, and he delayed the opening up in Amarillo an extra week to give us time to get a handle on the problems that we have here. So the governor is supportive of what we need to do, and I appreciate that. I appreciate him taking the time to come up here and talk to us. He complimented us on what we're doing, and I'd compliment the public. I'm not out a lot, but what I see is people are pretty much wearing masks. It's optional, don't have to, but I see a lot of people are. It's a recommended thing to do. So we got to get through this.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. And those were all the questions that we had for Council Connect for this installment. Unless either one of you had any other topics or issues you wanted to address.
No, just want to make mention of a roundtable that's going to take place tomorrow, being Wednesday at 1 p.m. And it will be, I think that's going to be in our conference room here. Is that right, David?
Yes, ma'am. Room 105.
Thank you, room 105. And so that's going to be a roundtable to kind of further the discussion around the circumstances of George Floyd's passing. And so that's an opportunity for the community to be able to, ask questions. I guess we'll have a discussion, and just in the treatment and the equality of all citizens. So we want to have those discussions now before we have a similar situation that happens in our city. I hope we don't experience that at all, but we'd rather have the conversation now rather than later, because I feel right now it's important for us to start building those relationships, build the trust within our community, and have us all working together as partners throughout our entire city.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, that roundtable will be tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Will be for media only due to social distancing requirements. It will be broadcast live on City of Amarillo website. Local media will be in attendance to ask questions, things like that. And it's probably the start of a further discussion of things going on down the road related the protests that we've seen the past few days here in Amarillo.
Yeah, so I see this as the start of many conversations going forward and on a regular basis, hopefully.
Those are all the questions that we had at this time for Council Connect. Once again, we do this on the first Tuesday of every month. Oh, I want to remind everybody also tomorrow, Wednesday, 11 a.m., will be our weekly news conference on the latest in COVID information and updates. We'll be joined by the Chief Medical Officers of BSA and Northwest Texas. They're here every Wednesday. We appreciate their participation, and we appreciate Mayor Pro Tem Freda Powell and Councilmember Howard Smith for their input tonight and their participation for Council Connect. Once again, This is David Henry. I'm the Communications Manager for the City of Amarillo. Thank you.
Thank you, David.